Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the portfolio question and answer session. I did get some questions from students regarding the portfolio, and so I want to be able to go through those and try to address any of those so that you have a better understanding of what the expectations are. The first one is whether it would be acceptable to write a paper in a format with section headings related to the numerical list of requirements. For example, organizational structure, communication strategies, principles of management, then decision making, and then problem solving. Yes, as a matter of fact, I actually encourage you to do that, to actually use the subsections that for each of the numbered items, because then you don't forget anything and you don't really you make sure to address everything that's required in the portfolio so that you don't lose points. And that's a pretty good way of actually organizing it anyway, so I encourage you to do that. It's not required, but it's definitely one way to go about it. The second question I got was, is it appropriate to use module content in papers as a reference? Yes, it is okay to use some module content in your papers as a reference. However, again, you really want to focus on using the academic, scholarly, peer-reviewed literature from the CSU Global Library so that you can have that valid, reliable academic research as support. Module content is fine, just make sure that it's used appropriately and sparingly. The third is it okay if we restate information that we've already cited in previous course assignments as long as we're paraphrasing our previously submitted work? The answer to that question is also yes. You can use some of your previous work as long as you're paraphrasing it. Obviously, you can't just collect all of your previous assignments and use them, because that's not going to actually answer all the questions in the portfolio. But if you do find some information that you've already used and you want to be able to use it again, you most certainly can. Just, again, use it sparingly and appropriately throughout your portfolio project. Some other questions. What are the most common mistakes that students make on the final portfolio? A few things that I've noticed that students do that you really want to avoid are going over the page limits. The page limits are set for a reason. You should be able to completely do everything that you need to do in this portfolio project within the page guidelines. So you do not want to go over the page limits. You know, just say what you're going to say, be clear and concise, stay on topic, stay on scope, which is another reason to actually have that outline with the subsections, because you don't want to get off topic or off scope. So make sure that you're doing that and stay within the page guidelines. Make sure you're using proper sources, proper research for sources. You don't want to get overly reliant on websites and corporate websites and books and things like that. Again, you really want to focus on finding that academic literature. Also, make sure you're using proper APA formatting. Again, if you go to the OWL at Purdue site, that's a good one to use for proper APA style. Keep in mind that when you download a reference off of the CSU Global Library, that it may have all the content that you need, but it may not be appropriately formatted. So you want to make sure to actually go out and get that formatted the proper way. And again, the APA website, OWL at Purdue, will help with that. Also, keep in mind that it is worth 35% of your grades, so it should be created accordingly. You know, if you think about one of your, it's worth about 4 of your regular assignments. So make sure that you're putting the time and effort into it accordingly, because it is a big deal. It can definitely change your grade, several letter grades. So just keep that in mind. Make sure you're focusing on, you know, content, critical thinking. Make sure you're using higher levels of critical thinking. You should not need to quote in your portfolio projects. You should be analyzing, synthesizing, and evaluating the research. Again, find those relationships between the different research to support what you're saying, and then cite all of the research that you found that relates. So again, if you're not real comfortable yet with the higher level critical thinking, make sure that you're looking at the Bloom's taxonomy websites. You can just Google Bloom's taxonomy, and it will kind of give you some more insights into what it means to analyze, synthesize, and evaluate research. Another question was, can we use outside resources that we have found for other critical thinking assignments, or must they be brand new sources for us personally? You can reuse any source that you want to in the course. You can reuse sources anytime in courses. They do not always have to be brand new sources. You can use sources that are provided as part of the course reading requirements. You can use sources that you've previously found. All of that is acceptable. So no need to worry about overusing sources that you've already used, because that's completely fine. That's fine in any class. You know, just because you use the same source doesn't necessarily mean you're using it in the same way or using the same part of that source. So it's fine to do that. Some other common mistakes that students make sure that you get proper grammar and writing. You want to write clearly and concisely, and I'm sure that you've seen that from me in your assignments. And if you haven't, you probably will. You want to be writing clearly and concisely and get right to the point. This isn't literary writing. This is scholarly writing. You also want to make sure that you're using proper grammar. And again, you can get that software Grammarly, Grammarly, from the internet, and it may cost a little bit, but it's definitely worth it because it integrates right into Word and it finds a ton of stuff that Word doesn't catch. So Grammarly is a good resource to have, especially if you're just getting started or are not, nearing completion of your program. It's worth the $20. If you have any other questions, you can always let me know either this week or as you go through your portfolio project. Again, it's always a good idea in every class to make sure that you get started on this portfolio project in week 1. You do not want to wait till week 7 or 8 to work on your portfolio project, because then you're going to be behind and you're going to be stressed and it's going to be a lot of extra work. So make sure that you are getting on your portfolio project in any class right away when the course starts. It'll make things a lot easier for you in week 7 and 8. To be honest, by week 8, you should be editing and proofreading and no longer having to write anything. So your portfolio project is due by Sunday night of the end of the course, the last Sunday night of the course. It cannot be submitted late. You cannot submit it after 11:59 p.m. If it is submitted late, it will not be graded. So make sure that you get these in on time or ahead of time, because you don't want to get in a situation where you post it and it shows up after 11:59 p.m. because it won't be graded. It cannot be sent in after the course ends. So again, if you have any other questions, you can always let me know. I'm always here to help. And you can email me, you can give me a call. Again, I'm available for both. So please don't hesitate to ask any questions that you may have. I really want to make sure that you have clarification on everything that you need so that you can do the best job that you can do on these portfolio projects. Have a great day.